Hey guys, I just thought I'd do a quick video to talk about the importance of loop tapes, okay? And also I'd like to give you another little exposure at the end, okay? But first, just let me say this. Let's say, for example, in an ordinary situation where, let's say you don't have OCD, right? And let's just say you were at school, at work, out with your buddies, and you couldn't take what they were throwing at you. They call you names, they call you a loser, they call you this, they call you that, whatever. And these things that they called you really bothered you. Well, a great way to overcome that is to record all their insults, you can do it yourself, into a loop tape, into an MP3 player or something, and play them over and over and over and over and over to yourself for hours and hours and hours, maybe even days on end. Pretty soon you'll get bored. You'll get really bored, like watching the same movie for the 30th or 40th time, And when you see the same movie for the 30th or 40th time, it doesn't engage your imagination anymore. It becomes so predictable and boring, your imagination just goes out the window, okay? So, in the context of OCD, if, for example, you're getting intrusive thoughts, okay? Same principle, what you want to do is record your intrusive thoughts into a loop tape and play them over and over and over to yourself for hours and hours and days and even weeks if you need to. And pretty soon you'll realize that they're just thoughts, okay? Because with the anxious brain, there's a thing called cognitive fusion or thought action fusion, which means that if you think a thought, then as far as you're concerned, that's as good as actually committing the crime. Okay? This is the anxious brain. But when you play something over and over and over to yourself, your imagination goes out the window. They become so boring that they no longer affect you. And just remember that it's not about pushing thoughts away. Because the minute you try and push something away, be it anxiety or intrusive thoughts, you're already as good as dead. Okay? You've given anxiety and OCD the driver's seat as soon as you try to push away. The goal of exposure is never to push anything away, it's to allow it in. Okay? So just remember, if you do loop tapes, the most important thing, listen to me, look at me, is response prevention. Response prevention is the gold and exposure itself is the silver, okay? If you can imagine the Olympic Games and you get gold, silver and bronze, on the gold step is response prevention. On the silver step is exposure. Okay, win by wanting. Okay, if you have anxiety, want the anxiety. If you have intrusive thoughts, want the intrusive thoughts. So loop tapes are a great way to help with that. Okay, and just as an intermission, there was a guy who contacted me the other week. You told me to do exposures and now I got all these questions going round and blah, 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 blah. And first of all, I didn't tell him to do anything. And second of all, it seems to me he was missing the whole point of exposure. He thought by exposing, he was going to get rid of his thoughts, but that's not the goal. Okay, because when his thoughts didn't go, he was ruminating, right? So it's always about allowing the thoughts in. I've spoken to that guy since, and he's calmed down now and he's okay. Anyway, the next thing is coming out stories. Look for opportunities to make yourself anxious, okay? Look for opportunities to be uncertain, okay? That's the secret. So what you could do is read lots of coming out stories. Watch videos on YouTube about coming out stories. And the whole idea, again, is to trigger yourself. And when you trigger yourself and your amygdala has sounded the alarm, you stay in the situation. If you do, it's really simple. If you do what you're afraid of over and over and over and over and over, eventually you won't be afraid of it no more. Simple, right? And so that's what you want to do. So again, I have to stress, it's the response prevention. Okay, read the coming out stories, and after you read the coming out stories, go and live your life. Go and live with the uncertainty, live with the anxiety. Don't research, don't Google, you know, try not to engage in any checking behaviors or mentally reviewing or thought suppression or anything like that. Allow the anxiety to be there, okay? So anyway, I'm about to go, but I would just like to say one thing before I go, okay? Now, I'm not into name dropping. I don't like name dropping. I've mentioned people that I think that you need to hear about. And even though I do, there's always an element of it that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, because I don't like name dropping, okay? But I want to mention an organization called NOCD, NOCD. These people are available for teletherapy in Canada, the US, Britain, and Australia. And I don't know if they're available anywhere else in the world. I'm not sure, okay? And they operate via Zoom and so forth. And they don't know me, I don't know them, really. I'm not affiliated with them is what I mean to say. I've never spoken to any of them. But I do admire Dr. Patrick McGrath and some of his team. And I know how awesome they are because I've put a lot of people onto them, okay? And who knows? I mean, I've recently discovered things about myself. Things I thought were habits, which I think are probably compulsions. Because what I've got is I've had a few themes in my time, but it's been mainly with myself, pure raw, just right OCD and responsibility OCD. And even though I've come away myself, there's still a couple of things that I need sorting out. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind using NOCD if they'd have me. Or I could go locally or whatever to sort out my remaining issues. But the point I'm making is this organization are really up and coming. And you need a professional, okay? If maybe if you've got a mild case and you can use my YouTube videos and other people's videos and whatever. But I think if you've got a sort of mediocre to hard case, I think, you know, you really need a professional, and it's always better to see the main people. So I'm going to give a shout out to NOCD. I'll put a link in the description, as long as they don't mind, of my video, so that you can access their website or whatever. You can even download the app for your phone, by the way. Okay? I mean, it's an amazing service. I mean, I don't know of many other services that are doing this. Anyway, like I said, I don't feel comfortable name dropping, but I had to mention these people because they do an awesome work, apparently. And, you know, they are probably the right people for you. Anyway, time to go. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.